Hi guys, welcome to Westmonster Uncensored. I'm Michael Hither.
I'm Patrick Christie's.
And so much to talk about in today's bumper edition of Uncensored. As ever, dive in and tell us what you think. We're going to be talking about house prices, how mass migration's had an impact on that. We'll be talking about comments from world boxing champion Anthony Joshua as well, and so much more besides. But we start, Patrick, with some very interesting data that's been coming out in terms of wages.
Yes, absolutely. Well, who would have thought, hey, that if you reduce the massive influx of people coming to Britain to saturate the lower end of the job market, you would end up having to pay British workers, or indeed any workers that are here currently, what they are worth. Coming out after official figures were launched from the IHS Market and Recruitment Employment Confederation, they show that March saw the quickest pay increase for temporary staff in 6 months. There are also more job vacancies across all categories. Well, why is that, you may ask? Well, of course, for a long time in Britain, we had huge influx of people coming in to saturate the lower end of the job market, areas of maybe unskilled work or lesser skilled work. That means that employers can therefore can pay what they like, which is often as little as possible, of course. But now we are seeing less workers coming into the country. We are seeing maybe more British workers getting into jobs, and all of a sudden, pay rises have gone up. So fantastic Brexit news to kickstart this show, really.
Absolutely. We do like to put a smile on your face. If you enjoy what we're doing, by the way, guys, as ever, give us a retweet, give us a like, spread the word. Very interesting with this. Tom Hadley, director at the Recruitment Employment Confederation, basically saying employers are increasing starting pay to draw candidates away from current roles into new positions. Employers are working hard to make themselves attractive to UK nationals. And there, by the way, we get some people say, oh, well, you're just making it up. No, look, Bloomberg have reported it there. Yeah. You can't deny reality. There's Bloomberg there. UK worker shortages push up starting salaries, pay. It even says in their article, Britain's decision to leave the European Union is making it harder for UK firms to attract workers from overseas, putting them under greater pressure to recruit from the domestic workforce. So let's boil this down, because it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that during the EU referendum campaign, you had so many self-styled socialists who talk non-stop about better conditions and better standard of living for British workers, and then actively campaigned against Brexit and the ability for the British government to control its borders and bring levels of migration down, which is going to, and we're already seeing it, guys, this is the tip of the iceberg. If the government have the bottle to deliver their tens of thousands net migration target, this is just the beginning. It's very basic. It's supply and demand. If you have an endless supply of cheap labour, of people that are willing to work for minimum wage, employers never have any incentive to offer more money. As soon as you see the labour market tighten, at that point, and you're seeing it already now as fact, employers will start raising wages. And as I said, it boggles my mind that so many people on the left who call themselves socialists turn around and say, no, actually, we want to continue down this road of low wages. It's great news. It's the reality of Brexit. Much more to come, I hope.
Well, Marcus Foo's been in touch, guys. As always, do throw in with your comments, pile in.
Jump in, go on.
Give us a big thumbs up, a like and a share. Marcus Foo saying Brexit economy rising successfully. Fantastic. Anthony Pratt, your problem there, Michael, is trying to understand the left. There you go.
I don't get it. I really don't.
April Morris, love Brexit, bring it on. Big picture of the British flag. That's what we like to see. And look, guys, I do think there's a little bit more to this, isn't there? Because a lot of the people that were very Europhile, very in favour of Britain staying in the EU, remaining in the European Union, were, of course, the people like the globalists. A lot of them were your big business owners, the people that own giant corporations. Why was it in their incentive to keep Britain in the European Union? Well, because, of course, it means much less strict rules on who can come into the country in terms of the workforce, and it always means that they've got several, possibly even hundreds of people for every single job that they have on offer, which means that they can drive down their own wages, pay their staff less and less, and that really is a lot of the reason why your big businesses and big corporations were so in favour of staying in the European Union.
Just want to recap, because we've just had quite a lot of people join us. We've got about 600 on Facebook alone. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember, Uncensored is 1 o'clock UK time. Monday, Wednesday and Friday. We're just talking here about the story. We'll get it back up again for you here, guys. Very interesting story. Of course, it ain't going to get reported much, is it? It's not going to get played down.
It'll get hushed up. Don't worry about that.
But the Recruitment and Employment Confederation basically confirming, that the employers are now having to work hard to attract UK nationals.
So,
my Delilah, that is what Leave voters want to hear, isn't it?
The reality is, guys, that Brexit is now meaning that wages are rising. And when people were telling you in the run-up, oh, it'll be worse for workers, everyone will be out of job, out of pocket.
Recession.
Everyone will be out of pocket. We'll be out on our front lawns fighting each other for food in no time. Well, no, actually, the reality of the situation is we have managed to reduce the demand in jobs. That means we've been allowed to raise the wages for people. And basically, in the long run, that obviously means everything's better, doesn't it? So there you go.
Yeah, and I mean, the good news doesn't end there, guys, because something that's just come out, basically been exposed, and I think this is positive this has been exposed. You may have seen, there was the Housing Minister, Dominic Raab, said the other day that mass migration puts up house prices in the UK by about 20%, right? And of course, the usual rabble turned around and said, oh, I'll prove it, or where's your facts? What are you basing this on? Well, on Friday, a report dropped showing the government's report. Basically, it's the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. And they've showed that essentially between 1991 and 2016, there was a 32% population growth led to a 32% increase in house prices. 2/3 of that population growth was due to non-UK born people, mass migration. So essentially, mass migration between 1991 and 2016 led to a 21% increase in house prices. And yet again, guys, you don't have to be, Einstein to figure this out, do you? If you have a population growth of over 500,000 a year, which we've just seen, biggest for 70 years, I keep banging on about it, but it's very, very important.
It really does, even when we're not on air. It's all he talks about.
Oh, yeah, well, I just think it bamboozles me, guys, that we've just seen the biggest population growth in the UK for 70 years, 538,000 in 1 year. And then people turn around and say, oh, why have we got a housing crisis? Oh, well, we need to build more houses. Yeah, well done, Bows. Of course we need more houses. We need more houses because we've got net migration in hundreds of thousands per year. Maybe we might need a few less houses. Maybe house prices go down if you actually had a sensible level of migration in the tens of thousands, which is the government's stated policy, which we need them to deliver, which is why so many people voted leave.
Right. So comments.
Tell us what you think.
Anne Gomersall doing a brilliant job, boys, making awareness to the youngsters that who voted to stay in. Tony Greenhead, keep up the good work, boys. Now, Paul Richardson, this is my comment of the day so far. Are you guys saying that even Diane Abbott could work it out? No, I'm not.
No, it's not. Come on.
No, I've never said that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here, all right, mate? But no, seriously, guys, look, this is really all-round pretty good news for Brexit. It's a pretty good day for the Brexit cause. We've got 780 of you watching live, and I want you all to get your heads around this right now. What we have just seen from official figures is that undeniable proof from a lot of what was said in the referendum campaign that high, uncontrolled levels of ridiculously high levels of immigration really are having a massive, massive knock-on impact on things like the housing market and the NHS. So that has now been proven to be true. We also said that once we come out of the European Union, we will actually potentially be better for workers' rights. Potentially we'll see wages go up. That has happened as well. So, fantastic. Success. Victory is ours.
Guys, make sure you retweet and like if you like what you see, and you go and visit westmonster.com/support if you want to support us. But this all leads us to believe. This all leads us with the logical conclusion, which many Ramonas have tried to play down during the referendum and all the rest of it, that lower migration means cheaper house prices and higher wages. Fact. Look at the facts. Look at what's being put out there. Look at what the Recruitment and Employment Federation are saying. Look at the government's own statistics. That is the logical outcome. And anyone that tries to deny that and that thinks that mass migration somehow boosts wages, that it somehow has no impact on the housing crisis, is trying to take you for a fool. Go to westmonster.com, go and have a read of these stories, spread the word, because this stuff's important. It really is, because if you remember during the referendum, those on the Leave side were saying things like, the suppression of wages from mass migration.
Yeah.
They were saying things like, so many houses now having to be bought just to keep up with demand from people coming into the country. There are the facts. I know some snowflakes ain't going to like it. That's the reality. Deal with it.
But also what I want to say is, look, can you imagine if a report had come out that said something like, for example, Brexit has resulted in an increase in hate crimes towards immigrants or something like that. We've actually literally seen these reports come out and get massive, widespread coverage. Often these reports are based on very dubious sources that are heavily biased, but nonetheless, they make it onto the 10 o'clock news. Well, let's have a look here. This one that we just talked about, mass uncontrolled immigration driving up house prices by 21%. Oh, will you see that on the news at 10? No, you won't. Will you see that realistically reported on the BBC? No, you wouldn't, but you will get it here at Westmonster because we're not mainstream and we are giving you the news that you like, which is actually nicely segued into why you need to support us, please. We need your help, need your support to help us keep growing, keep spreading the good word. So if you visit westmonster.com/support, and please do give generously. Thank you very much.
Now, guys, we're going to play a video for you disgraceful set of affairs here in the UK, and a lot of you guys, I think, got some from Hungary, right across the world. It's really important, actually, that people get their head around this, because I think it shows you what sort of country we're becoming and what we must resist, which is prioritising the wrong people, complete set of wrong priorities as a country. So we're going to play this video. Basically, there's been controversy surrounding the Windrush generation.
Yeah, so just give them a synopsis then, really.
Basically, migrants who came here decades ago from Commonwealth countries, now many of them now elderly.
Yeah.
Basically, the Home Office are going after them and saying, well, where's your documentation proof that you're here? These are people, as you'll see a lady in a minute who spoke to ITV, these are people who have got kids here, who have got grandkids here, who have worked here, grafted here, paid their taxes here for decades. And they're the ones getting the hassle. Yeah. And what really angers me and pisses me off about this story is because what about all the hundreds of jihadis that we know, the traitorous scum who have been to Syria, actively fought against this country and are allowed to come back in? But these people, law-abiding, hard-working Brits who came here decades ago, whose families are here, they're the ones getting hassled. But anyway, we'll show you this video so you can see for yourself.
See what you make of this, guys.
I'm British. Why are you telling me I'm not British? How is it you allowed me to work here? How is it I've got children here? My eldest is 40. You know, I've got grandchildren here. So I had to be here. My mum and dad is here. Well, they're buried here. Our native tongue is Creole. I can't speak Creole because I wasn't raised in Dominica, was I? So I know the streets of Hackney. I know the streets of London. You know, I've seen Prince Charles grow up. The hardest part is where I've been so used to working and being able to look after me and my family, I have to rely on others now.
So it's interesting to see what you guys made of that. Now, from my perspective, sometimes governments do things that absolutely beg a belief. Sometimes governments do things that make you think they must be living on a different planet. We are literally letting in a higher percentage of returning ISIS fighters than Saudi Arabia. Okay? We are letting these people back in. We are not giving a toss about the tens of thousands of fake students that come to Britain to study a completely bogus course at a fictional college outside Milton Keynes. No one seems to care about them whatsoever. No one really seems to care from the government about people who have committed crimes, heinous crimes, even murder in their own country, and come over to Britain, been granted a place to live and work, committed crimes here, and been locked up. But we protect their human rights day in, day out. But here's a group of people from Commonwealth nations who have come over and essentially done Britain a favour, helped us build and become the Great Britain that we see before us today. And Theresa May and the people in government now are content to ruin the twilight years of these people's lives, to put them out of a job because they can't prove that they were here legally, to deport them in some cases. I tell you what, Theresa May, you understand that when you are deporting these people, you're deporting British people. You're deporting people that are just as British, if not more British, frankly, than you. And this is something that is sickening, it is shocking, and it must end now.
Absolutely, and guys, we've done an update just before we came on air. Actually, Theresa May was under pressure from leaders of some Caribbean countries to basically meet with them and discuss this specifically. We now understand she is going to go and meet them. By the way, guys, on all of our stories there, you've got the red alert. Do go and head over to westmonster.com/red alert. Sign up to our daily email during the week there so you can get the latest. But yeah, that's the latest. Theresa May is going to meet with the Caribbean leaders. But it just shows you, you know, it's about values as a country, isn't it, guys? It's about values, and so many of you guys just chipping in saying you're disgusted by this.
Yeah, it is. It's bloody crazy, Diane's saying.
As Alison says, these people have worked and paid taxes in this country. I'm disgusted. Not just that, guys, but there was another case of another chap we did this at the weekend, Michael Braithwaite, been here more than 50 years.
Yeah,
These people are losing their jobs. This guy was a special needs teacher.
Yeah.
And his employer ruled that he was an illegal migrant. He came to London with his family when he was 9 years of age. What are they expecting him to have come? He's a child.
Yeah.
He was a child.
Sometimes I struggle to find my passport.
And he's
this guy's come when he was 9 years old.
And the killer is, guys, these are, we should have respect for our elders. These are people who are, in some cases, are grandparents. This poor guy's had to spend 2 years trying to prove that he's here legally. These people don't need this. No. Why are we as a country, why is our Home Office going after elderly people who have made their lives here, who have paid into the system, who have got children? Why are they allowing that to happen? Why are they going after these people when they're allowing jihadis to come in back from Syria? It's an the contrast is so stark to me, and it shows you whereas we as a country have gone wrong. These people should not be being hassled and unsettled and spending years of their lives and losing their jobs for Christ's sake, while we've got these jihadi nutcases who went over to Syria, consciously made the decision to go and support people who abuse kids, set people alight, behead people, jihadi scum. They're allowed back in. But these poor people have to deal with the aggro. These poor people, soft targets, elderly people getting hassled by the Home Office. It is disgusting. I hope Theresa May sorts it out. It sounds like the meeting is a step in the right direction. But what a contrast, guys, eh? What a contrast that people like this are having to prove that they're British, prove that they can be here. We even heard reports before about actual people that have been deported.
Yeah.
Some of these people, British people, have been deported. I mean, it's absolutely sickening.
Well, loads of your comments coming in. I'm going to pick one out now from Mark Taylor saying the government have got their priorities all wrong, and I think that's pretty much hit the nail on the head there, Mark. I think the thing for me is what kind of message does this send out about Britain worldwide? You can come to Britain, you can basically be invited here, you can basically do all the things that it takes to help make Britain great. You can pay your taxes on time every single day of your life. You can raise your children and grandchildren to be upstanding members of a local community. You can work in the social services sector. You can do everything. And then all of a sudden we might just deport you at the back end of your life. That's not a great look, that is it, for Britain. And the other thing is as well, the fact is this has obviously gone through, you would imagine, several layers of bureaucracy to get to this particular point. So there's X amount of civil servants, X amount of politicians have had a look at this and decided, yes, that's absolutely fine. Shouldn't that tell you exactly how detached from reality and how out of touch with general human beings, I suppose, a lot of our political class are? I think it's a bit of an eye-opener, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, guys, just on the returning jihadis, just to show you, the contrast couldn't be more stark. We've done many stories in Westmonster about this. Governments admitted hundreds are back in the UK, many of whom, and it's the actual quote from the government, was a significant proportion of those individuals who have already returned are assessed as no longer being of national security concern. So apparently, you can be a jihadi who's gone and supported ISIS, gone to Syria, come back into the country, and apparently you're no longer of national security concern. And this is hundreds of people. And I just find the whole thing mad. And we also did the story, of course, they were even talking about some being offered council houses.
Well, yeah. That is a thing that's actually happened. I appreciate that all of this might sound a little bit mental to some people. The idea that we've got these people that have come to Britain and done so much of the country that are now being treated terribly and being shipped off, whilst at the same time some ISIS fighters are being given council houses as bribes to not be a terrorist anymore. I know, that sounds mental, doesn't it? But unfortunately, that is the state of the world that we live in. So welcome.
Guys, if you're enjoying the show, please do give us a like, give us a retweet. Go to westmonster.com/support. We've been doing so much on these stories. And on the issue of, we'll go to a few comments in a minute. I'm sure there's lots of comments. But on the issue of returning jihadis, guys, this is something we at Westmonster have done for a long time. We followed this all the way through. Another development now, just up on westmonster.com today. Get your head around this one, guys. More than half of those who left Denmark to go and fight for Islamic State received benefit payments after they left the country, it has been revealed. The Danish Police Intelligence Service admit that at least 84 of the 150 jihadis, that's the ones they know about, by the way, who left to join the caliphate, receive in the receipt of unemployment and disability benefits while they were abroad. I mean, it just shows you the complete mess that European governments have made of this whole thing, where you've actually got people, jihadi, bloodthirsty, evil nutcases receiving money on behalf of Danish taxpayers. I mean, what are they doing?
Apparently, in the grand scheme of things, that's just fine now, isn't it? given the way that the world is structured at the minute, the things that are going on, like we've seen in Britain. Janet Wyatt here saying they are easy to issues about the Windrush deportations and the horrible situation surrounding them. Janet Wyatt saying they're easy targets, so the government can say that the deportation figures have increased, basically make it false figures. I mean, that's quite a good point, actually, I must say. It's interesting, and I do wonder maybe whether that's it. Somebody else also said it was because they might have to now start paying their pensions. It's one thing to think about. Government's priorities are warped. That's from Hazel Trainer. We need to drain the swamp in Westminster. That's Alison Stubbs, who is a regular on the show. Pleasure as always to have you on, Alison. Guys, please do give us a share. Spread the word. We have got a lot of you watching now. We've been hovering around the 700, 800 mark for the entirety of the show. We need to make that count, so please do spread the word. Tell everyone that you can about Westmonster and the work that we're doing here.
Guys, so much more to talk about, including a quote from one of my heroes, Anthony Joshua, the world boxing champion, and also...
He's beaten him in a fight, you know, before.
No, definitely hasn't. And also, lawless London, I'm afraid, more stabbings in the capital, all of that and more right after this break.
Stay tuned, stay tuned.
The odds were stacked in the favour of Remain. The money was stacked in the favour of Remain. The government, Whitehall, much of these big corporate interests, all backing Remain. It was a major upset victory for Leave to One.
But you are going to solve absolutely nothing if you completely ignore the other factor as well, and that is the fact, obviously at the minute, that mass migration is having a huge impact.
14-year-old shot in Seven Sisters and left with life-changing injuries. Is this not a national emergency?
People, presumably a lot of them, would have to be watched, because although they say that they're not a national security threat, you would imagine that in fact probably they are. Now that is a massive drain on our resource. Do you have any idea how many people it takes to watch someone 24/7? Yes, we do very much value your support here at Westmonster, so please do give generously if you can. Now look, I just want to give you a brief update on a story that has got you all a bit stressed out and flustered, and rightly so, I think, over the course of the last week or so. And that is, do you remember that story about the 78-year-old pensioner who found a burglar in his house in the dead of night as his wife, who's stricken with dementia, was asleep upstairs. He killed that burglar. He was then arrested for on suspicion of murder. He's since been released. There's been this shrine that's been erected outside his house to this bloke that he's killed, who is, in case you're wondering, part of what would appear to be quite a notorious crime family. Now, the police basically sat idly by for 6 days while people took it in turns to put this shrine up and then take it down again. Put this shrine up and take it down again. The police sat on their hands and did precious little. Now, the councillors finally, it would seem, got involved and decided to actually, look, we can't have this sick, pretty warped-looking shrine outside this bloke's house. So instead of, they've gone and removed all the stuff, but they've actually just moved it 400 yards down the road. That makes things obviously much better, doesn't it? Not. But anyway, that's the situation we're in. I thought I'd give you an update on that. It's in Hither Green. And yes, it's interesting because I think it does raise that question, doesn't it? Of course, it will be interesting to know what you guys think about this. If an intruder does break into your house, should he be allowed to basically do whatever you want to them?
Now, guys, something else you'll know, regular viewers, we do a lot on the crime wave on the streets of London, but also across the country. And I'm sorry to report yet again, I mean, you've seen some mainstream media coverage of it the other day, but we've been following this for a long time, and I'm afraid it ain't getting any better, because yesterday there was another day of bloodshed in the capital. We've got the story there, basically absolutely horrendous. It looks like a young father stabbed to death in Colindale. He was taken to hospital but died from his injuries. In the same evening, a woman was stabbed to death in Brixton. A third stabbing was also reported. An 18-year-old said to be in a critical condition, and the authorities also found another man, I think, in Southgate. I actually tweeted all this earlier, if we bring the tweet up, just to show you how stark this is, guys. For this to go on in the space of 24 hours, or just one evening, basically, I think, yesterday. Woman stabbed to death in Brixton, man stabbed to death in Colindale, 18-year-old stabbed in Haringey in critical condition, man found with stab wounds in Southgate as well. And, you know, we saw some speeches recently from Amber Rudd. I mean, the main message she seemed to be sending out was, well, police numbers don't matter.
Yeah.
And then we had this pathetic Home Office 2 strike rule of, oh, well, if you're caught with acid twice, you'll definitely get at least 6 months. Oh, you know.
It's not like they're putting anyone off, is it?
That's not exactly going to make hardened thugs
no,
cower in the corner, is it?
Not at
all. But there you go. There you are, guys. You may not hear about this elsewhere. The fact is, yesterday, 2 people stabbed to death. A young man, 18 years of age, in critical condition, and another man also found with stab wounds. For that to happen in one city, in one day, is a national emergency. It should be treated as a national emergency. But I'm afraid, apart from the sort of sporadic national coverage we're seeing of this ongoing crisis, it doesn't seem to me that we're getting the sort of robust response. That, these are young people, nearly all young people, being killed in our capital city with a sickening regularity.
Absolutely. Well, I think as well, if you just take the fact that 2 people died there last night, if you project that over the course of the year, before you know it, you've had 700 people stabbed to death on London streets in a year, which is obviously mental. Now, somebody has got in touch, and rightly so, I can't remember what your name was, it might have been Scott Turnbull, just saying the video footage of an attack, that was it, John Bradburn. John Bradburn saying, machete-wielding nutcase in Aston, which is in Birmingham, not great. The video footage is unbelievable. Well, ask and you shall receive, my friends, because we are about to show you something that undoubtedly will sicken you to your core, shock you to your core. It's a broad daylight gang violence, I suppose, on the streets of Birmingham, right in the middle of a town centre, a machete-wielding thug. And this is just to show you that, look, we go on a lot about London here, but this is actually happening and seeping out now and penetrating every single aspect of British society. A lot of cities, we've seen it in Manchester especially, obviously we all know about Liverpool, and Birmingham. But here is one from Birmingham, so have a look at this video, see what you make of this. Right, so that's obviously pretty harrowing stuff, isn't it? But that just goes to some of the point. There's a bloke there, a few things about that, obviously. One, there's a bloke wandering around on the streets with an absolutely monstrous-sized machete. The fact that he's prepared to use it, the fact that it's broad daylight, the fact that it's not in London, and the fact that there's 20 other lads there who seem perfectly prepared to get bang involved in the situation as well. What on earth's going on? Law and order really across the country does look like it's crumbling. We want to get your comments, though, as always.
I mean, the idea that in a scenario like that, having, police numbers don't come into play, is absolute dream world.
Okay.
A lot of this is happening. That's a mass gang brawl on the streets in broad daylight. I would suggest, probably, because the police presence around there has probably been cut. We've seen police forces up and down the country, cut to the bone. Police officers' numbers have gone down by 20,000, around 20,000 nationwide since 2010. And I'm afraid the result is we are living in a country, I think, that is increasingly soft when it comes to law and order. And you're seeing violent crime rise as a result of that.
Alison Stubbs didn't see any police. Are they all on Facebook? This is obviously in relation to the fact that there seems to be loads and loads of resources being pumped into police, doing their jobs on social media, policing social media, doing things like that, as opposed to actually, I don't know, maybe getting on a street corner and having a look for any bloke with a massive machete. Cut MPs' pay and expenses, and that would equal more beat police. That's from Daniel Sheldrake there. Interesting comment, that. Thank you very much.
Now, the final story I talked about today is something I think is very, very interesting. Anthony Joshua, I don't know how many of you guys watch the boxing, but basically he's the world heavyweight champion.
He's massive.
He's the biggest name, well, massive in all, in terms of media presence, in terms of his stature in the sport, in terms of physically, obviously. But he really is someone who came from a relatively deprived background. I think he got into some trouble as a kid. He's turned his life around. Boxing has sort of propelled him to becoming this worldwide sensation, really, and he's a British hero. And basically, he talked about discipline. He talked about, he was at an event and he was asked about knife crime, what can be done and stuff like that. And he said, discipline, it's about discipline. He says there's nothing wrong with getting a clear issues. I've seen certain things. I'm not coming from a situation where I've watched it on TV. I have seen it. Community things are really positive, but you have to create a culture, I would say. The culture has to be within your household. It has to be local fathers, mothers, cousins, coming together alongside the people. So there you go, guys. That, I think, makes a lot more sense and is a lot more compelling than some of the guff you get from politicians whose full-time job is supposed to come up with solutions to this. All they seem to be wanting to talk about, is, number one, it's none of their problems and it's none of their fault. And the other thing is, police numbers don't really matter. And there's sort of this political football's kicked around. But Anthony Joshua, I think there, is absolutely bang on. I think the sense of discipline that we once had, and if it didn't come from the house, you'd get it at school, and even the police, I think, they're restricted in what they can and can't do, and I think a lot of kids nowadays run around, frankly, and take the piss.
Right, well, Chris Downs got in touch saying, I agree, my kids get a clip. You've been very brave putting it out there because they might get taken off you now, Chris. Only joking, I'm sure they won't. It's an interesting thing, this, and I do want to ask just openly, but it's an interactive show. I want to know what your opinions are on this. Do you think that basically parents should be allowed to discipline, obviously within reason, parents should be allowed to discipline their kids in any way they see fit? If that does mean a smack bottom every now and again, or a clip round the ear, or maybe even, a little friendly pat on the cheek. Let us know what you think. Do you agree or do you disagree with that? You should be seeing something on your screens flashing up now.
Give us a quick vote. While you do that, I'll read out a few comments. We've got, I think it was Hazel saying, no fathers. No fathers, no disciplined parents must take responsibility.
That is an issue. That is an issue.
And I think I think it's this. That to me is the real issue here. You've got to talk about how are children being brought up. Is there that sense of discipline that there used to be? Is that one of the reasons that it's breaking down? I think it is. I think there were youth workers that were quoted after one of the recent spate of nice things in London, who basically said that kids don't feel authority anymore. That even if they do get pulled over by the police, even the sense in some cases of even going to prison is no real deterrent now. I mean, you see these prison videos of them jumping around on Snapchat or whatever.
With drugs,
with drugs, with food, music blaring in the background. I mean, it looks like more of a holiday camp than anything else. And I think this is the big part of the aspect that's being missed in this debate, is the sense of discipline, is the deterrent, and is the crackdown that's required if you're going to get violent crime in this country under control.
Absolutely. Look, Moji Miles been in touch saying discipline is desperately lacking these days. John Bradburn, I think you've just replaced the other blow with my second favourite comment of the day, saying clip around the ear. The only problem is my son's 6'5". Well, good luck. Get a stepladder out, and if he's been naughty, you sort him out. No, but look, seriously, guys, I think this is a big issue for society because it does seep down. Like, I think the other day, I saw various things where someone in any position of authority, whether it's someone just going about their daily life, doing the job that they are being asked to do, or in a position of authority, regularly now, they just ask someone to do something, a young person to do something, that person will just turn around, swear at them, refuse, for no apparent reason, just behave like a bit of a tit, really. Why? Why is this happening in society? Why have we got this seem breakdown of a lack of respect and order? I think that's a problem, isn't it? I mean, because surely that has a knock-on effect on wider society as a whole. Yeah. But I want to know what you guys think, of course. Anne Johnson agrees, it would seem.
Yeah, and jumping with the last few comments before we finish this off, guys, but I'll just give you one example. I was at the train station the other day, and there's an area in front by the platform, which is like a yellow area. You're not supposed to stand there. It's dangerous to stand there if the train's coming. And there was a train sort of on its a few minutes away, and there was, I don't know, like 17, 18-year-old kid. And the train staff would just said quite reasonably, very politely, can you please just step away? And he was basically just ranting and raving at him. And it was just unbelievable to me that something as small as can you just move away for your own safety, the kid was mouthing off like a trooper.
Isn't it?
And I actually spoke to the geezer who was on the platform and just said, that sense of discipline that kids used to have, it seems to have just completely disappeared. They just seem to, some kids nowadays have absolutely no respect for their elders. They've got no respect for authority. They've got no fear whatsoever because their attitude in a lot of these cases is what are you going to do about it?
Well, look, Lee Gill's got a cracking comment here. Parents are supposed to guide and influence their children through their formative years. That should also include teaching them consequences for bad actions. A smack isn't wrong. Thank you very much for that, Lee. Let's have a look. David People as well. I've been in prison. They care not one bit. They run the place. Totally agree. I've been saying this for years. Discipline has been worn down. That's from Catherine Clary. So, look, guys, really loaded here. We asked you now earlier. We did ask you, is there anything wrong with getting a clip around the ear? 460 odd of you thought there wasn't anything wrong with it. I think 4 of you, last time I checked, 4 or 3 of you, 3 of you, I think that you would disagree with the idea of getting clipped around the ear. So you are a rare breed, but nevertheless, we appreciate your views here at Westmonster Uncensored.
Guys, if you've enjoyed what we've done today, if you support what we do, if you want to support Westmonster, do head over to westmonster.com/support. We do appreciate all of your support. Many of you backing us. Thank you very much for that. And our email as well, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. Do feel free to get in touch. My email, of course, patrick.christies@westmonster.com.
I mean, I was talking about the email sign-up.
Were you? Right, okay, yeah, to be honest, I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought I was going to have to have my phone number out in a minute there. I didn't really know what was going on. No, see that I just blindly went for it though, isn't it?
Yes, did very well.
We have got these red alert sign-ups, so if you just want the best of the unfiltered, uncensored news every single day, pumped straight into your email inbox, then click onto our website and sign up to our red alert. I think you can also do it on our Facebook page as well. And what you will get off that is our 3 biggest and best news stories of the day pumped straight into your inbox. So make sure you do that. Also, you can just email me or text me.
If you want. Yeah, why not?
Feel free to knock on the door and say hello.
Might be a little bit far. I mean, we're interactive, but we'll have to discuss that one first, guys. Right, we'll see you back on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Hope you have a nice week. As ever, go to westmonster.com for all the latest news, and we will see you on Wednesday. See you later, guys.
Take care, guys.